When you've graphed each one of those on your Desmos, this is the graphs that you should have seen. So this is what it's giving you right here. The different functions, there's sine of x. They're trying to give you what the graph looks like. They're just giving you a small piece of the graph. They chose negative pi over 2 to 3 pi over 2. We chose 0 to 2 pi. It doesn't matter. But what I wanted you to pay attention to is the domain, which is what x values can you plug in, range, what are your y values restricted by, and then it says the period. The period is how long does it go before it repeats itself. So sine and cosine both have periods of 2 pi, which is the same thing as secant and cosecant, of course, because they're just the reciprocals. Tangent has a period of only pi. Tangent most definitely has restrictions. In fact, sine and cosine don't have restrictions, but every single one of the other 4 functions have definite restrictions, meaning we can't just plug in any x value. We need to make sure it's defined, so be careful with those. The reason they have restrictions is, remember, tangent is sine over cosine. It's a fraction. Cosecant is 1 over sine, which is a fraction. Secant is 1 over cosine, which is a fraction. And cotangent is cosine over sine, which is a fraction. In fractions, you can't have the bottom equal to 0. So anywhere you see a vertical asymptote, which you should always label on your graphs, those vertical asymptotes are when the denominator is equal to 0. That's what those come from. Okay. It says, notes in the graphs, the maximum value of sine and cosine is 1, and the minimum value is -1. The graphs of y equals a sine of bx and y equals a cosine of bx oscillate between, well, instead of being bounded by y values of -1 to 1, it has bounded of y values of -a and a. Talks about amplitude, talks about period length. This is all information that you would have gotten from a deep dive into a trigonometric class with graphing trig functions. Do you need to be able to graph any trig function in this class? Look, no, but I do want you to remember what the graphs look like. I do want you to remember that there are restrictions to domains in a lot of the functions. I do want you to remember about your y values, but that's really not what we care about in a calculus class. In a calculus class, at least Calc 1, we primarily care about where's the maximums at, where's the minimums at, is it defined or not defined at a given point, okay? So, are you going to have to go that deep into graphing them? No, you're not, but should you know these things? Absolutely, you should.